Hi, thank you so much for joining. My name is Haley Mallon, and I'm an Employee Experience Solution Consultant here at ServiceNow. Today, we'll be going through the IT Asset Management and HR Better Together story, taking a look specifically at the onboarding and offboarding experience for employees. So as promised, we'll follow two different story flows today. I'll begin here with an employee and show how someone can quickly onboard, making sure that all of their documentation and assets are ready for day one. And then we'll essentially do it in reverse, showcasing that efficient offboarding process. So this is the journey I have envisioned and we'll go through today. Again, we'll start through the lens of Nick, a new hire, show how someone can quickly onboard and be prepared for that first day. And as multiple teams are involved in this onboarding journey, the next person I will rotate to is Maria here. I'll show how someone will have insight, such as, those manager oversight, and also be welcoming to anyone new into the team. And then from an IT side of things, I'll show how Casey here, that IT associate or asset manager, can actually go in, look at all of those new hire requests coming in to fulfill and provision hardware and software for someone like Nick. And then last but not least, Anna is an IT admin. We'll show how we can go in and tailor the whole experience for Nick through our lifecycle events, which is essentially all of those tasks that are going out to these individuals, all of that automation and those workflows behind the scene. So kicking us off right here, right after Nick accepts his offer, he's welcomed with a notification, providing him with the next steps and credentials on how to get going on all of his activities. So whether that's through a mobile application or our employee center on a desktop, we can really meet employees where they are. Now, all this is essentially branded by you. You can give different instructions or guidance, but if Nick hears anything like me, he'll read this and prefer to download that Now mobile app, especially as you might not have that personal laptop, or new hires might rely on a corporate laptop to get going. So keeping up this energy here from Nick, I will be going into that Now mobile application. And essentially what we'll see is everything personalized for him to keep him excited. So as I said, he's excited for that first day. You want to keep that same level of energy and effort that you put in to attract Nick as a top talent, and make this experience just as great. So Nick here, the first thing he'll see is all of our targeted content that might be relevant to his role and where he sits within the organization. Really, this is a way for you to have that communication channel. So whether you want to provide guidance on who his team might be, or ways to get into the office, even what to wear. You can use our internal knowledge base and articles to really push out all this information. So Nick here can see, where to go, even what his team might look like or who he can report to. And then he can also collaborate with it. So he can say if it was helpful or not, rate the article, tag up here, essentially giving you that information as well to then tweak this part of the process or information. So Nick's now ready to jump into his to-do list and all of his onboarding activities. You can see that he has 13 tasks that are tagged to him. So everything here is broken down into different categories, whether that's those 13 tasks for day one, but it could also be different categories for his first 30 days or 60 days and so on. Now, all of the tasks here, again, can be set up for your needs, but it'll span across the enterprise. So Nick here can see that he has different videos to watch for his learning, but also he can see he has different benefits to go in and start selecting from. Now we know that there are HR onboarding solutions out there, but what we've seen essentially customers do, especially as it comes to an HCM as well, is really just surface up those activities. So again, we can partner with your HCM, whether that's Workday, to surface up the information here, or actually go in and have an employee be routed to that direct link. What we do and take it a step further though is, again, it is enterprise onboarding. It's not just HR onboarding. So the benefit here, again, is having all departments involved, whether that's facilities or legal or IT. Nick here can actually make sure that the most exciting step, which is choosing that laptop, is taken care of right away and all of the appropriate teams are notified. So Nick has a couple selections here, but again, this could depend on his location and role. Maybe there's a couple more options or less for a different colleague within a different team. Another added layer here is everything is bundled. So an employee is no longer confused about everything they might need for their first day. We can make sure that we're giving all the right hardware and asset allocations right off the bat. And what happens when Nick goes in and selects this laptop is Casey, that IT asset manager, will actually be notified to make sure that we have that efficient onboarding. He has this even before his first day so that we have that faster time to productivity. So again, the most important thing here is we're reducing the confusion for Nick as a new hire. We're making sure he's getting all of his activity out of the way before his first day, and we're really roping in everyone across the enterprise. So to recap on what we just saw here with Nick, again, we had that positive experience. We have that fast time to his productivity, and we're really meeting him where he's at, whether that's on a desktop or on his mobile device, servicing up all of those to-dos in one spot. So next, I'll be moving on to Nick's manager here, Maria, and I'll show how she would have direct team insight and especially follow along on Nick's journey. So Maria here prefers to work on her desktop, so I've logged into our employee center. So essentially, this is that single pane of glass for finding information, getting support, and then also seeing her team and what's going on within the organization. So whether Maria here has a question for HR or wants to find resources for IT, this is that starting place for all employees. On our employee center, we can also see the different rotating banners here for Maria, which could be a little bit different. It could be, how to best support in this manager workforce. The resources she might need, maybe she does have those annual goals that are coming up or tasks that are pertaining to her for her new hires. Going down a little bit more though, we can actually see those different active items. So her to-dos might look a little bit different again. It might be how to support Nick in this new hire onboarding, but we can also pull out in different components what she might need to approve. So like Nick just submitted that request for that laptop, we can actually make it easier for managers to go in, see that request, and approve it right off the bat. So again, as promised, the benefit here for Maria being a manager is having insight into her employees and especially those new hires. So looking into our manager center, Maria can see all of her direct reports, whether that's contractors or full-time employees, but she can also see their engagement, whether they're satisfied with different aspects or different processes, even things such as availability and engagement. What really catches Maria's eye here, though, is that new hire progress. So whether she was out of office or just wants to be in the know of her new hires, she can see exactly where they are and all the tasks and activities that might need to be completed. So Nick here, something is standing out as he only has those 4 out of 12. So she can actually dive in to see where she can best support and provide guidance. Now, opening this up, Maria can see all the details, again, who the subject is as that new hire, the important details such as when their start date might be, even if they're a full-time or part-time employee and what department they sit in. Not only does Maria have her listed as the hiring manager, but she can also see different correspondents such as HR specialists who are also assisting in this new hire. All the tasks and to do, like I said before, are broken down into those different categories. So whether Nick is preparing still for that first day or on to his journey as that long tenured employee, we can see what aspect and what cascading effect or list we fall in under. Now, Maria can see everything assigned to her, whether, again, that's different checklists or guides or setting up meetings, but we can actually go in and select those different accounts or access. This is definitely a step that could be automated, but just to show that you do have that ability to go in and approve and maybe make certain selections depending on who that new hire is. So we'll just go ahead and order all of these different accounts and assets for Nick directly. Again, making sure that we have that timely delivery. He's not kicked out of the system, isn't wondering, how to get involved and start going on his day. We have, once again, that productivity line and insight. Not only can Maria see everything assigned to her, but if she ever wanted to look at where Nick is, maybe he's struggling on different aspects and not meeting the due date on a lot of these different tasks, Maria can then reach out, offer any assistance or support as this might be confusing or overwhelming as someone is onboarding. Really diving into that cross-departmental aspect here, we can again see insight into an HR responsibility. So we'll know what documentation is being done, making sure that someone is actually assigned to all of the different tasks, as well as IT. So again, talking about this enterprise-wide lens, we want to make sure a new hire has all of the different accounts were set up in that Active Directory and we're ready to go. So with Maria here, we really once again saw that optimal efficiency, we're proactively answering and anticipating those needs. And Maria can take direct action. She can reach out to Nick to make sure all of this is going well for him. And we're providing the best onboarding experience for that top talent. So switching gears a little bit, I've talked a lot about how multiple teams are involved in this process, but I want to show that we can actually fulfill and jump on those requirements from the IT realm. So Casey here, once again, is that IT partner, that IT asset manager, and he'll be starting where he normally starts his day within the hardware asset management dashboard. So again, Maria and Nick, they selected everything that Nick might need for his new role, but Casey is actually notified of those tasks to make sure, again, we're giving that hardware and software out. So as Casey, this asset manager, this is that overview that not only includes those new hire requests, but also showcasing different requests from employees, whether they have broken equipment or different parts of their assets that aren't cooperating or acting as they should. So diving into all the different asset requests, once again, we can see those different aspects of everyone within the enterprise. We can see specifically, though, that Nick did request that laptop and everything that was associated with it. So now I'm actually going to dive into how we source this, how we make sure that this is going out. So opening up this request here for Nick Newman, we get all those details. We know when the due date is here for Casey, who even opened it, and what state it is in. On top of all that detail, again, compromised of this one request is those different requisitions or those different line items. So below we can see not only is it that laptop we're giving out to Nick, but all of those different software and access accounts that Maria might have approved, but also might have come with just the territory nature of selecting that MacBook Pro. We can see all the list-like items, their due date, the price, if applicable, and then we can also see the stage that it's at. So currently everything is sitting in fulfillment, but I'll push everything through and show how this is then delivered to an employee. Being the approvers, again, you can have multiple steps here, whether you want to go to a different layer of managers, but for this, just Maria's yes and okay was good enough. And then I'll start to go through all of our different sourcing. So within this one request, we did have just one catalog task item for Nick, which would be made up of all of those different items. So again, that hardware, making sure we're putting in the PO, also making sure that the software is provisioned. So sourcing this request, again, we'll see all those different items, and I'll actually walk through and show how you would not only look at that different vendor purchase, but then making sure that we had all those rights for that software. So starting with our PO here, I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting the right vendor, selecting the appropriate quantity, and then that stock room of where it's coming from, as well as those allocations for software rights. So here we want to make sure that we're getting that appropriate license, that everything is available within our enterprise, and then again, assigning it to a user, which will then stay with Nick for his tenured time at the organization. So I'll go through and do it for everything that Nick might need here and everything that was requested for him, and then we'll submit this and be off. So what we can actually see again is that one purchase order line was created for that hardware, and then we do have all those licenses allocated successfully. Clicking OK will actually take us back to that requisition, and then we'll see everything updated here. We can see that all of our requested items now for software has gone through, as that's that non-tangible aspect. But being that our hardware item is something that's physically shipped, our stage here is going for awaiting delivery. And our purchase order line was automatically created since this is set up as a vendor PO. This has gone out for that appropriate approval and making sure we're shipping it out. But you can push this all the way through to make sure Nick has it, it's shipped, and it's ready again for that day one. So with all of that out of the way, Casey here has done a due diligent job and in a very fast manner in making sure that Nick is ready, he's provisioned, he has all of that fulfillment taken care of, and he's prepped for that day one. Being Casey here, though, we were never having to communicate on the side. No one had to tell him to start working on this activity. He didn't have to reach out to HR to see what that new hire list might look like. And he began his day on that hardware asset dashboard to really recognize everything awaiting and requested of him. So he never had to leave that viewpoint to go into the different requests or make sure all of the procurement went smoothly. He was efficient and make sure that Nick is ramped up for that first day. So last but not least, we'll be looking again at someone in that admin role who really controls all of this process, whether that's onboarding or offboarding. And once again, all of the tasks that have gone out so far to the different teams were controlled by our lifecycle events. So hopping in here now to Anna, we can see those different lifecycle events listed out, whether that is onboarding or offboarding. We're going into design and modify, but specifically since we've been going over that onboarding experience, I'll go into the details now here. So we can set everything up, even that description and what phase or event type that lies in, but everything is driven by our activity sets. So all of these different columns, whether that's pre-hire, pre-boarding, or day one, this is those different categories that control all of the items asked of employees and new hires. So whether that's something going out immediately, or that's that different phase waiting for the completion of that pre-hire phase, we can see every activity for HR, IT, and the employee. Specifically talking about IT here, though, I will show you all of those different tasks that might have gone out. Again, we can see that it's not just an employee doing a lot of this, it's IT getting a fulfillment request or notification to set up that email or submit a different request on their behalf for different setup items or Active Directory. Like I said, a lot of this can be automated, but you definitely can have those fulfiller or approval steps in the midst, depending on where your requirements lie. So especially if you are, again, doing those to-dos or those notifications, we have this blueprint here. Everything is designed and we do give you that guidance out of the box to start running with our different store and experience packs here. So all of these different tiles, they pertain to whether that's a request or triggering a different workflow, but making it a very friendly UI for you to go in and set up. So you can also get, different feedback here as well. Maybe you heard that in the onboarding experience, we want to have an email set up faster or software set up faster. The UI is modern and intuitive enough where you can actually drag and drop these different pieces of the puzzle to make sure that we're taking in that feedback and taking action right away. So once again, it's that enterprise-wide lens. It's kicking off all these different tasks behind the scene and allowing you to do so in an easy way. Again, whether that's different phases, if it's onboarding, if it's offboarding, all of this too is hidden from an employee, especially as they chug along on that ramp up journey. And Anna here can really personalize this to her liking, take quick action on that, and process improvement. So once again, Anna here, the HR admin, she had that intuitive and easy way to pivot and really adopt and start using that lifecycle event, which is that mission control for all of the tasks going out to the different departments. So as promised, now that we just all did that forward, we're going to slowly run this back in reverse to really start capturing everything that is included and needed to make sure that we are collecting assets and hardware and offboarding employees in that right manner and still making it that experience that it should be. So for this journey here specifically, it'll be for Emily, a departing employee on Maria's team. And let's say, Emily's leaving for a company or a different career change. There's a couple different kinds of offboarding. There could be something that's voluntary, meaning Emily here, she's excited to go to a different company or something that more supports in her career growth. But it also could be involuntary. And in that case, it's, someone's getting fired, needs to be out by the end of the day. And even more so, we have that pressure to make sure we're shutting down all of our software access accounts for security, but also collecting back all of those different expensive hardware items. So Maria will kick off that process. She was notified by Emily to start in that offboarding. And after that is all requested and kicked off from Maria, Casey once again will come in to make sure that all of those offboarded employees aren't walking away with items that they shouldn't. So going back to our employee center, once again, Maria here was notified that someone is voluntarily leaving. We'll be able to do a search for those different request items, but also that different knowledge item as well. So if Maria is a self-sufficient, loves to read on the different information before making a request, she can actually stay up to date and follow different FAQs for this confusing process, especially if this is her first offboarded employee. But Maria here will actually just go in and fill a form, which would then kickstart that workflow and that lifecycle event to start taking care of all the activity to make sure Emily is offboarded in a timely manner. Again, these are different forms and different processes you can follow and that are given to you, but you can go in and tailor anything. Maybe you want additional details or documentation that can, of course, be requested as well. So we'll be presented with that same structure for that new hire, whether it's those different phases of activity, that initial separation, maybe finalizing everything and making sure all of our ducks are in a row. But Maria, once again, can see any activity, whether that's for herself or for Emily, the employee. So again, this is just designed for optimal efficiency. Maria is supported in something maybe she's never done before to offboard one of her teammates, and we have that quick response to get it going again. So after Maria had started that process, one of those alerts actually went out back to Casey, that IT asset manager. So looking at that offboarding request here, logged in again as Casey, we can see all of the different asset reclamation that might have come in, whether that's for different transitioning employees or offboarding as well. But we can specifically see here that Emily is listed among one of them for our today's requested date. Opening up the reclamation request, we can see again, it was requested specifically for Emily, the method that we would like to follow this and the date, and also the state. Underneath all this, there are those different components. So of course, Emily had more than just her hardware. She also had those different software items as well, but we can still get granularity and visibility into where that might be. So again, seeing the different stages, we can see this hardware, which is that tangible product that needs to be shipped back, which will be taken care of and then updated accordingly, but also all the different software items as well. So whether that's revoking user licenses or making sure that we can put those licenses back out for use, you would have that visibility to start going in and doing so. Now, all of this can be evaluated at every step of the way. Once all of this is completed, especially for software, we can revoke the system or user subscriptions. And a lot of this can be automated. So with conjunction of ITAM, you can make sure that you don't actually need to go in and manually click through all the different software asset reclaims. You can do so just with that click of the kickstarting of offboarding. So if we go through and we actually did reclaim all of those different software assets, again, it's about making sure that no one has access that they shouldn't, but also we've heard stories too of the access not being revoked and enterprises paying for licenses that aren't in use for up to a few years. So I just dove into that software line item as that's something that would happen more instantaneously, but let's fast forward a bit here. Let's say Emily's laptop has been shipped back and it's received and evaluated. So we'll see all of those updated statuses here on those different stages. Again, we've gone through ready to pending and evaluated and closed, but you can actually dive in to get that lower level view of those different stages. So these tasks would again look like her scheduled shipment for Emily to send back in that Apple iMac, receiving it from the organization, and then finally evaluating the asset. And if we go into the evaluate asset task, we have specific options here for you as an organization to then start evaluating what you want to do with the returned assets. So options here could be redeploying it to a new employee or vendor, disposing of the hardware, even if Emily has maybe caused too much damage on that asset. And all of that would be updated here on our evaluation status field. So right now we can see it's set for redeploying to a new employee. But again, this would be somewhere where you'd see that status of disposed or even sent to an IT technician for repair. Here, we're really trying to emphasize maximizing the hardware lifecycle. So we're ensuring we're putting our assets back to good use or even attaining immediate attention if we need those assets fixed as soon as possible. So once again, here with Casey, everything was in his lap as he went through that process. All of the hardware and software was attached to that departing employee, but Casey had a quick way of making sure that those items were back, as well as all of those items being revoked that needed to be. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today on behalf of both the IT asset management team and employee workflows team. I really hope you enjoyed learning about our Better Together story of HR and IT as it comes to onboarding and offboarding. Please feel free to follow those links at the bottom for any additional questions or resources you might have, and I hope you have a great day.